This week on the Repurpose Your Career podcast, I have a brand new product called Job Search Journey that I'm going to introduce to you. And there are three founders. Cue the music.
Welcome to the Repurpose Your Career podcast, brought to you by Career Pivot. This podcast is where those of us in the second half of life come together to discuss how to repurpose our careers for the 21st century. Come listen to career experts give you proven strategies. Listen to people like you tell their stories on how they repurpose their careers. And finally, get your questions answered. Your host, Mark Miller, has made 6 career pivots over the last 30 years. He understands this is not about jumping out of the frying pan into a fire, but rather to create a plan where you make clear, actionable steps or pivots to a better future career. Are you ready to repurpose your career?
Welcome to episode 247 of the Repurpose Your Career podcast. My name is Mark Miller, and I'll be your host every Monday for discussion on what it's like to repurpose your career. Just a reminder, we will have only one more episode in the month of November as we are taking a 2-week break for the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. This week I am speaking with 3 career professionals who I highly respect. Virginia Franco from Virginia Franco Resumes, Adrienne from Career Impressions, and Sarah Johnston from Briefcase Coach. These 3 women who have teamed up to create a career resource marketplace called JobSearchJourney.com. This is a marketplace where you can get affordable, high-quality job search products produced by some of the best people in the career industry. The price range goes from just a few dollars to a couple $100. I really like what they're doing, and they are first-time e-commerce entrepreneurs. I wanted them to tell you about their website and their journey. However, before we get to the episode, let's have a word from our sponsor, Career Pivot. The Career Pivot membership community continues to help members who are participating in this project grow and thrive. This is a community where everyone is there to help everyone else figure out what they want to do in the second half of life and then make it happen. Let's hear what Vicky had to say about being part of the community.
For me, I would say it's the resources that you've made available to the community, whether it's bringing on speakers who have insights into the current hiring and job searching trends, especially during the pandemic. This has been so useful. Highlighting companies that are providing remote work for older adults. And again, this is how I was able to get my current part-time job, but also helping me to see new possibilities about what work might look like now and in the immediate future, because, this is so important. The traditional jobs that our generation was raised with have essentially evaporated. And so that's really what's been most helpful to me most recently.
I am recruiting new members for the next group. If you're interested in learning more about the endeavor, please go to careerpivot.com/community. Now on to my discussion with Virginia, Adrienne, and Sarah. Welcome to the Repurpose Your Career podcast. I have the real joy of having 3 lovely ladies who are the creator of JobSearchJourney.com. I have Sarah Johnston, Adrienne and Virginia Franco. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting us here today. I'm really excited to get an opportunity to finally connect with you one-on-one.
And Mark, I always love our chats, and I adore your site. I follow your digital nomad journeys, and so it's just a real pleasure.
Well, I always look forward to reading your case study and your surveys. I think that you do such a great job of getting great insights that no one else in the industry is getting. And so it's a real honor to be here.
Well, thank you. And now my head is I'll have a hard time getting through the door now. Whose idea for Job Search Journey was it?
I'd say that it wasn't any one person's idea. We actually met initially online, the 3 of us. And then we had the opportunity to come together and meet in person for the first time about 2 years ago down in San Diego. We went to a conference together. And I think we just recognized that we had a shared passion for job search and that there was a gap where we would like to offer a different type of service to a larger community that we weren't able to offer one-on-one, and that coming together as a collective would bring that vision forward. And so I'd say it's always been something that we have worked very collaboratively on from day one.
Describe what jobsearchjourney.com is. What's on there?
So if you know Amazon or you know Etsy or Teachers Pay Teachers, it is a marketplace. It features DIY job search materials from scripts to templates to guides that are high quality and highly affordable. And they are written by people like the three of us who work with people one-on-one in their day practices, but want to help those that can't work one-on-one. We have right now 20 plus sellers or creators on the marketplace right now.
And where did these other people come from?
We looked at our network and we said, who is delivering something that a job seeker could find applicable and could plug in their content, and it could be plug and play for job seekers. And so we looked at who was already doing this work in the marketplace, and we went with people that we thought were trustworthy and who had credentials that we thought that job seekers would value. And we're looking at growing this platform. We started with just 20 sellers, and as we grow as a platform and as we grow as a site, we want to be intentional about inviting new people onto our website to join us.
And if somebody wanted to join your platform, how would they do that?
So right now, anyone can reach out to us through the site. We do have a page on the site that they can learn a little bit more about becoming a partner, and then they can reach out to us via email. And like Sarah said, we're being pretty intentional right now with our growth and taking our time at scaling it in a way that we can manage as an organization, but also in a way that we ensure that we're bringing on high quality resources that continue to attract job seekers to the site.
But Mark, if you're interested, I know some people. I can pull some strings behind the scenes.
I know Hannah Morgan's on there and a few other people that I know and respect. And of course, I respect all three of you ladies. And so that's why when I saw you launch it, I thought, hey, not everybody can afford a coach. I'll put it this way. I see this in my expat community. People want to DIY it, which sometimes makes sense and sometimes doesn't make sense. I'd like to go a little bit more in depth into what's the type of materials that are on there.
We view job search as a journey. And so there's different points along that, from defining what your target is to preparing your resume and your LinkedIn profile and your cover letters, then to networking and outreach, preparing for your interviews, all the way up to negotiating your final package. And so we have tools to support each and every stage. So we have worksheets to help you come up with target companies and guidance for that stage. We have lots of ATS-friendly, easy-to-use templates for the resume writing stage. For interviewing, for networking, we have proven scripts to help people reach out to those that they know and people that they don't know. Salary negotiation, same thing. So the products are downloadable. Usually they're in Word or Excel. There's videos, just a combination of digital products that are easily adaptable for that DIY customer.
Who do you see as your target audience for this?
Several target audiences. I mean, obviously, we are executive resume writers, and we see the value of working one-on-one with someone like ourselves to do a custom document. Kind of borrowing the words of Kristen Sherry, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar, and having someone unearth your story and help you tell it in a way that hits on the pain points of an opportunity is invaluable. So I'm not discounting the fact that for some job seekers, it makes a lot of sense to work one-on-one with someone like us. But there are many job seekers where maybe they're in a place where they can't afford to work one-on-one with someone like one of us. And those job seekers may be early career. They may not have access to a career center anymore, but they may be early career. They could be a mom returning to the workforce after taking a leave of absence to care for a family member. It could be an individual who is nearing their retirement season, and maybe they no longer want to position themselves for an executive role. They want to try something new and something different. And that individual may find great support on our site. We also have looked at industries where the work is fairly consistent no matter the place or location that you're working. So for example, teaching and nursing, you can be a kindergarten teacher in a classroom in Texas and a kindergarten teacher in the state of Washington, and the work that you're doing is fairly similar. And so those individuals, would definitely find great support from our website through our templates and tools that we've created for these types of professions.
So how did you come up with the price points that you've come up with? Because I look at it as being very affordable. In fact, I might buy a couple of products just to try them, because where did you come up with the price range or the price points?
So I think we've tried a few things over the last year that we've been in business. We had a beta site originally where we had tested out a couple of these items, and we found that some of the lower price point items actually sold a lot better. And it's probably based on something just like what you said, Mark. People want to have the opportunity to test some of the products and explore it before fully committing. So, and we do have a range. You can get something for $5 on the site that's pretty comprehensive and can focus on one particular pain point in your job search journey, or you can buy an entire kit of materials to help you with the entire process. And that obviously costs a lot more. And we did find that a lot of people that invested in the smaller price point items would come back and then potentially invest in the larger price point items. So I think we were just trying to hit the market in a way that, again, it was affordable and accessible, and there was opportunity there to really show value to the individuals that purchased.
Yeah. And I guess I'd also add that we've talked about how job search isn't always equitable. Sometimes the people with the money are the ones that have gotten ahead because they can work with the likes of the three of us. We wanted to try to level the playing field a little bit and give people access to that, regardless of their salaries in their bank accounts. So,
is this your first entrepreneurial online venture?
I got my start selling items on eBay back when I was 22 years old. So I have been an online entrepreneur for a little while, but this is my very first time running an e-marketplace website where we're having to be more hyper-focused on backlinks and connections and partnerships and affiliate programs. I feel like I'm drinking water from a fire hydrant right now, just in terms of the amount of level of detail that we have to go into.
I didn't know what e-commerce was when I first started. So yeah, except for my own business, this is new for me, except for our beta site last year. But, my other business, I had 10 years to build it. We had to sort of do this in, a very short period of time. So.
Yeah, same. I'm the same as Virginia. I only had experience running really on my own and had a lot of opportunity, long runway to get that off and running. And it's a different kettle of fish because we're dealing again with a larger community. We're working together as a team, and we're trying to support a very large, diverse group of job seekers, which we really like doing, but it brings different challenges for sure. Yeah,
the reason why I ask is this is for all three of you is a very, very different venture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact is, this, all things considered, this is a relatively inexpensive way of getting a business started.
Except for our blood, sweat, and tears, yes.
Yes. Well, it's in many ways it's very low risk, and this is what I encourage a lot of my audience to go do, because I had Diane David Wu on my podcast. Diane David on my podcast, who wrote the book Future Proof. And I really like the concept she says is to experiment in your career.
I love it. I mean, you're right. Like, we did build this website custom, and so there was a great expense to that. But for the average person, there's these great websites like Squarespace with $250 annually to just test the waters and see what works and what doesn't. And we tested. We launched our initial beta site on a platform called Podia, which was $79 a month. And that gave us the proof that this concept would work in the marketplace, or at least worth, of larger investment on our behalf. So absolutely, I would highly recommend your listeners to test the waters. And I think that the best part of this whole experience, beyond getting to work with Adrienne and Virginia, has been the learning. I feel, like I said, drinking water from a fire hydrant, but I'm loving reading all of these case studies and love learning a new skill set that's been invaluable for me.
So what has been the biggest challenge for each of you?
It's hard to pick just one. No.
It's a side hustle for us. We have day jobs, which a lot of people can relate to nowadays. The time management piece associated with wearing every hat. And we're utterly bootstrapped. So just that, managing households, managing two jobs with many hats, that's been for me sort of the biggest challenge, but the biggest challenges come the biggest rewards, like Sarah said. So
yeah, I'd 100% agree with Virginia. I think the biggest thing for me has just been balancing having an independent practice with the shared practice, and just taking on so many different, I guess it's a learning opportunity. Like Sarah said, it really is. And it helps us grow better as individuals, but also together. But sometimes it's overwhelming, and I can understand how career people who are looking to potentially add to their portfolio and want to take on a side gig or a side venture would struggle with that at times, because if you have a very robust job that you're already really focused on, it can be difficult to give your side practice or that opportunity the same amount of attention that it needs for you to really flourish within it.
For me, it's feeling overwhelmed with all the things that need to be done. And feeling like, wow, we have 1.5 million tasks that need to be accomplished in order for this to be successful. And kind of our mantra that we've said over and over to each other is, the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And when it comes to building
every single day, Sarah,
when it comes to building a site, it's every single backlink adds up. Every single affiliate that we connect with adds up. And, we can look back in a year and say, wow, look at all of this that we've accomplished. But right now, when we're in the thick of things, it feels so overwhelming. And I think a lot of job seekers can relate to that as well. Job searching just feels like a mountain of a task. But if you really break it down into daily and weekly activity, it's so much more manageable.
Quick interruption. If you are enjoying this podcast, please rate it and review it on whatever podcast player you are using. And more importantly, would you mind telling a friend? Thanks, and back to the podcast episode. Yes, I highly encourage you to periodically stop and smell the roses.
That's a good point.
And see how far you've come. And what did you learn from each stage? Because I said, when I first looked at this, I said, wow, here are 3 people who are doing something they've never done before. And it looks pretty good. And by the way, as soon as you think you have it figured out, don't worry, the world will change.
Absolutely. I think we learned that lesson when we first launched. We've pivoted a few times with our strategy and our focus and learned that, things are always evolving. And I think it's a smart strategy to have as a business in general, to keep up with that.
And the other lesson that I think really applies to job seeking is that we don't need to do this. Even though we are wearing lots of hats, we rely on others to get help. Sarah and Adrienne are so good at going on Twitter going, hey guys, who have you used for this? What do you know about that? Googling and learning and trying to leverage what's already out there.
What kind of help have you acquired to launch this business?
I think the number one thing that's helped us get to this point right now is getting an award-winning website design team on our side that really understood our vision and has helped us build from the ground up this site just the way that we pictured it being. And they've also supported us with branding and marketing, and their insight has been invaluable getting us to the point where we're at right now.
Yeah, we took all of our profits from the first year and used it to invest in this.
Right now, we're seeking advice in many areas, including we're recently reaching out to someone from Google who has an expertise in Google Ads, and we're exploring whether or not, we can learn from their years of doing Google Ads, if that can help support what we're doing and help shortcut our path to success there. And one thing that Adrienne hit on is this branding team. They helped us see blind spots that we didn't know were there. Like our original name was Job Search Secret Weapon, and we thought that was cute and we liked it and it sounded really cool. And this branding team, who's not based in the US, they said to us, guys, this name, it is not going to resonate with an international audience. That weapon sound is going to really turn people off. You need a name that's going to resonate internationally. And so we changed our name based on their recommendation.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I've helped lots of people launch blogs and podcasts. And one of the key pieces, it's not important what you think. It's what your customer thinks.
Yes. Yes.
And you may think you have the greatest idea in the world, and it's your baby.
Yeah, we pivoted our products based on early feedback a couple of times in that beta. So
absolutely. Very, very important. It's hard. You get really close to it. It's just like when people are writing a resume, they're very close to their material and they can't always recognize what's important to the reader versus what's important to them. And it's the same thing when you're doing a business, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of when I launched Career Pivot, God, almost 10 years ago, I hired a branding expert. I hired a website developer. I hired a whole bunch of folks, a business coach. When I launched my online community, I got cheap and I hired a friend to put the website together. And a blog post I just recently wrote is he went AWOL on me.
I read it.
Right? He went AWOL. He got off his meds. And I eventually went back and hired a top flight design team again. And the money was very worth spent. Where do you see this going?
We're big thinkers, Mark. I mean, we see this as a website that, there's millions of job seekers every year. We see this being a site where job seekers at all career levels can come in and Piccadilly what they need for the different, journey of the job search that they're in. We see this expanding. We potentially see having many more sellers on our site as long as the content that they create is valuable and research backed and is solid. And we really even see going down and diving deep into different career areas of expertise, not just more generic, but focused specifically on different industries and companies.
Yeah, and I'd add that we've also had thoughts of expanding our global reach. One of our sellers right now is she's UK based, but she's built her practice in the Middle East. And so, job seekers are global. And so we just that's definitely part of our expansion plan.
The interesting one here is you have lots of directions you can take. Well, let me ask you this. Has the Great Resignation been good for your business?
We're in a stage where we're working on word of mouth. We've had, we just launched, we've been in business for just shy of a month. And right now, a lot of our business, a lot of people who visited our website are curious people. They saw our launch announcements and they checked it out, but they may not necessarily be job searching. So I think in the future that things like the Great Resignation or the uptick in hiring will absolutely help us, but we're still getting the word out about the type of work the service that we provide people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just had a panel discussion inside my online community around Encore Careers, and one of my members has a coaching practice. And His coaching practice is doing very well because he's on all these coaching platforms. And these coaching platforms didn't exist 3 years ago. I mean, he's on BetterUp and a few others. And it's like, wow, in my opinion, you are launching at the right time. This is a good time to be launching this kind of product because we're going to see a lot of swirl in the job market. And a lot of people need this kind of help. So if someone wanted to, number one, buy your products, where do they go?
So our website, it can be located at jobsearchjourney.com. Like we talked about, it's a very robust marketplace, lots of tools there, but it's well laid out. So you can do searches for the type of stage or resource that you need support with. Everything, like we've mentioned, from resumes to networking scripts to salary negotiation guides. We've tried to build the site so that it is intuitive and it's easy to use and easy to find information. So I'd recommend people come and check it out. And you can even search for, if you're not sure, let's say, what the next stage of your job search journey might look like, you can even search by the different stages, and we give recommendations around products to help you with that.
If someone wanted to reach out and work with you individually, how might they do that?
I did not have a career branding person come when I was first setting up my company. So my company is named Virginia Franco Resumes because my accountant needed a name. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and all the socials. So those are the best places to find me.
So my individual practice is called Career Impressions. I'm located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so my website is careerimpressions.ca. But like Virginia and Sarah, I'm very active on LinkedIn and different social channels as well.
You can find me at briefcasecoach.com. And I'm based in Durham, North Carolina. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also increasing my Twitter usage and would love if some of your listeners are on Twitter, I would love to connect with them there.
And your Twitter handle is?
At Sarah D as in dog Johnston. It's just my name.
Thank you very much for being on the Repurpose Your Career podcast.
Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate you having us here today.
I really like what these women are doing with Job Search Journey. I would encourage you to check it out. Take a moment, go to careerpivot.com and sign up for the weekly Career Pivot Insights newsletter, which is sent out every Sunday. You will get a weekly update on this podcast, white papers, and new blog posts. While there, do not forget to check out the Career Pivot community, which can be found at careerpivot.com/community. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Look for Career Pivot on Facebook and LinkedIn. You'll also find me on Twitter at Career Pivot. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of the Repurpose Your Career podcast. You will find all the show notes at careerpivot.com/episode-247. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Podbeam, Overcast, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, and lots of other places where podcasts can be found. In fact, this podcast can be found on the Repurpose Your Career podcast channel on YouTube. Hope to see you next Monday for another episode of Repurpose Your Career podcast.